Welcome back. My name is Ed Pluchar, and I've got a brief real estate lesson for you. Get this question all the time, especially from first-time buyers, and they want to know, or we'll see a property, and it'll say short sale, and I'll say to them, do you know what that is? Are you familiar? 70% of the time I get no, I'm not familiar with that. So here are the basic three you're going to run across. We're not going to deal with auctions and things like that, but if you're on the retail market, let's call it, first-time home buyer, and you're just kind of looking for that starter home, here are three kinds of sales you might run into. First is traditional, and that simply means that whoever lives in the house and owns it, let's back up. Whoever owns it, typically they live in the house, but not always. Whoever owns the house is selling it to you, and the bank isn't involved because they have enough equity to make the sale, pay off their existing mortgage if they have one, and move on. So a traditional sale, pretty well, is strictly between you, your lender, and the home seller. Short sale means that home seller owes more on their mortgage than they can actually sell it for. So just as an example, if they owe $200,000 but that home is only worth $150,000 right now, obviously there's no way they can go on the market, sell it for $200,000. So they're kind of in a bind. But if they need to move on for whatever reason, they would approach their bank and say, look, we're having to move, we run into financial hardship, and we just need to get rid of this house. They'll make an arrangement with their bank. What you're getting into as the buyer is you're first negotiating with the seller on a price. But that's kind of like a figurehead situation. Who you really are dealing with is the bank. So if you come in and you say, that's a great house, I know you may not know, they owe $200,000. So you're coming in and it's a short sale, and you may not know they owe $200,000, but you know they owe more than it's worth because it's listed as a short sale. You're coming in saying, I think that house is worth $175,000. I want to pay that. I want to get it for $175,000. The seller can accept pretty well whatever they want, and it more or less is meaningless. It just gets the process started. What happens then is the seller and their real estate agent are going to take that to the bank and say, here's a contract that we have in hand. What do you think? And they and the bank are going to kind of work through it and decide if that price is acceptable. If it's not, the bank is going to throw back a price or just say no. And now you, the buyer, have to decide, are you going to accept that new price, or are you going to just walk away because you have no idea what they're going to accept for it? It's a fairly arduous process. I have to admit, it can be done. I've done it. You can count on pretty well at least 6 months. I guess sometimes shorter, but just as a general rule of thumb. And you're going to be dealing with the bank all that time. What's interesting about that is, the homeowner usually will continue to live in the house, and so you're not getting an empty house per se. You're not getting a vacant house. You're still dealing with some of the, hey, they got to move out, we got to move in once the deal's getting close to done. Finally, there's foreclosure, and what that means is the previous owner is just out of the picture. The bank has gone ahead and reclaimed the house, taken possession of it. Previous owner is gone. They have no more rights to this house, and they've taken a fairly good credit hit. So now the bank is in a position where they don't necessarily want to own the house. They don't necessarily want to take a huge loss either. So they're trying to sell the house for as much money as they can, but they're not going to keep it on the market forever in most cases. At the same time, you, as the homeowner, are now negotiating essentially directly with the bank, and you're trying to come to an agreement with them to understand, what are we going to get this house for? Between these two, you're in a good position to get a deal. You're just going to have to put in the time and the patience to get it. Here's where you're going to count on paying a fair market price unless that homeowner is in a distressed situation, which is something we can go over next time. If you have any questions about the differences between those, if you are in a situation where you're dealing with a short sale or a foreclosure, you have any questions, please email me at edward.pluchar@gmail.com, or go ahead and call or text at 815-931-2279. Thanks again.